Protect yourself and your family from unexpected challenges. Consider accident-only income protection. Click the link in the description to find out more.
Boxing King Media in association with SaveMoreMoney.com. Delighted to be joined by Gareth Davies. A lot of breaking news today, Gareth, so I really appreciate you jumping on for a quick catch-up. But before we do or say anything, I've just noticed you've been munching on some miniature octopuses.
They are. They're not. They're called baby octopus. I've just been having a little bit of baby octopus seafood salad. No, they're all gone. I'm not pulling one out and dangling it here. They're very small octopi, and I think they're from the from Japanese waters actually. But yeah, I've just been having some of those. You caught me having one before we started recording. But they aren't baby octopuses. They're just mini. They're a miniature variety. Someone will have some issue with it, I'm sure. But I've just had some seafood salad with that and a little bit of
what's that?
Aranciata rossa.
Right.
Lovely.
There'll be some sort of support group for baby octopuses, and if you've got an issue or you're offended by it, right in. Last time I spoke to you, the fans were intrigued by the fact that they wanted to know if you close your fridge door with your hips. I got another one for you.
No. Can I just say before you go on, I've been practicing and I'm very good at it.
Oh, yeah. Really?
No, of course I haven't. Of course
as you can imagine, I've got loads more. So I picked one out. Chris wants to know if you open a packet of crisps with scissors.
I'll let you know next time. Certainly, I do cut packets of nuts open with scissors. Rather than tearing them like that. I think I have cut a packet of crisps open with a pair of scissors.
Fascinating. We'll see if we can get you to do that next time. Let's get
keep them coming. Keep them coming.
I'm going to keep them coming. Let's get into it, man. Big news today. We saw, everyone's kind of been expecting the Eubank Junior Benn announcement confirmation, but a massive spanner in the works yesterday. Robert Smith's gone on TalkSport and basically, in short, said we're rejecting the license. Eddie Hearn's applied for Conor's license. They've rejected it, and he's also mentioned that they've got a hearing now in place for the appeal in January. So, what do you make of all this bit of a dramatic U-turn? Because it's kind of not what people are expecting.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading those comments from Robert Smith earlier on because I was chasing him myself to get an interview with him. I'm going to speak to him on Saturday morning ahead of TalkSport's Fight Night show that I'm presenting. Well, he's made it very clear and obvious that he's not going to, or the board, rather it's him and the stewards, are not going to issue that license to Conor Benn, even though he's not suspended at the moment, of course. February the 3rd, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is the venue and the destination, isn't it, for Benn and Eubank? We don't know absolutely. We were hearing all through the week, certainly the rumour mill through DAZN, through Matchroom, that this fight was virtually over the line. That Eubank was on board, Benn was obviously on board. I still think it's a very, very difficult fight for Conor Benn at middleweight, by the way, against a big middleweight in Chris Eubank. He'll be a super middleweight when and if they step in there together. But I did witness those comments from Robert Smith, and their feeling is at the moment, even though the sporting jury lifted the suspension on Conor Benn, what is it now, 2 months ago? Is it it's longer actually, 2 months ago. Yeah. Based on the fact they'd had their hearing, but it was over jurisdiction, not strict liability. That's the distinction being made here. Robert Smith is still saying, this is where the contretemps comes, that Robert Smith is saying that they haven't proven Conor Benn's name specifically over the 2 clomiphene tests and the reasons why it was in the system, whereas Eddie Hearn is saying, no, we have cleared Conor Benn's name, but that's based on jurisdiction, isn't it? That should the fact they weren't UCAD tests, be veracity for this testing process. So the big confusion for me, Gul, is they have the evidence, because I met the doctor, by the way. Can't remember his exact name now. I met the doctor who has the medical evidence for Conor that it was from food substance and not a drug substance, the clomiphene. I met him at the Usyk Dubois fight in Poland. Were you out for that?
I was, yeah.
Did you meet him as well?
I didn't meet him, no, but I've heard you mention that before.
Yeah, well, I was with him.
Is that public with this whole doctor and the food thing? Because I'm not
That's
really
public.
anywhere.
That's public. He's got the evidence. He told me on the night. He has got the evidence from the analysis that this is food consumption, not drug consumption, not chemical consumption, not pharmaceutical consumption. But I don't think the Boxing Board of Control and UKAD have had that hearing over that yet, and that's what they appealed about. And I saw your tweet earlier, not yours, but Boxing King Media, saying that maybe this has gone too far, and there's been a lot of hard yakka put on Conor Benn in this whole scenario. And maybe there has. I wouldn't disagree with that. But I think there's been the chance for him to clear his name both through jurisdiction and through consumption as well. And I just don't know why they haven't. And that for me is where I don't really understand why they haven't done that.
There's obviously two arguments, because I think most fans are just completely confused by it all now. We've seen Eddie, today he said to me that the WBC cleared him, and the drugs governing body that govern UKAD, they lifted the suspension. But the only people that obviously they haven't been through with is the British Boxing Board. But is it my understanding right that they don't have to go down that route, and that's why they've not done that? And if they do go down that route, is it a case of maybe too many bridges have been burned and his fate may already be kind of decided if he goes down that route? This is just me putting it out there, because that's how it seems.
Here's my take on it from the outside, that it's been a very fractured process, a very fractious process between Eddie Hearn, Conor Benn's people, his lawyers, the Boxing Board, and their lawyers, their legal team. It's not been a kind process. It's been a very accusatory and a very back and forth and a very spiky process. The way I look at it from the outside is, because of strict liability, even if they prove that it's food consumption, he may well get a backdated ban or suspension from boxing that might have taken him outside the remit of this fight, maybe for 2 years, which would take him to October next year. Obviously, he wants to move on with his career. I think there's a degree of a standoff here in some ways between all the parties. I think the Boxing Board of Control have dug their heels in and said, no, we want jurisdiction. You've got that. You've won that case. But we want to hear with finality over the consumption of clomiphene into his body. Now, is there a fear that the ban will be 2 years? Is there a need for Hearn and Benn to go into that process, given that the ban has been lifted? So they've taken their stance. But the problem is the board is saying, unless you do the consumption hearing, because we're not accepting just the jurisdiction hearing, we're not going to give you your license. So it is a stalemate in that way. Is that clear? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. But Eddie Hearn, he also said today, and he was quite clear on it. He said that he feels there's an agenda against Conor Benn, and he feels that he's been treated differently. And I said to him, what is the reason that you think he's been treated differently? Obviously, we can guess and assume what he's referring to, but he wouldn't say it. What do you think he means? And do you think there could be any element of something outside boxing and politics?
Well, I think other boxers have got to this stage and they've either taken their ban or they've acquiesced to the board and follow what the board needed, and maybe in this case they haven't. And like I say, I do think there's a standoff here. I think there's a lot of strong arming on both sides. strong arming from Eddie Hearn in trying to push through and get the fight made, obviously for Tottenham Hotspur next February. But the board not allowing the impasse, sticking their heels in the sand, saying no, we want this other hearing, we want the jurisdiction one. And the WBC, you rightly say, and Eddie rightly says, did say we found that there are cases with clomiphene being in eggs that it gives you a positive test. So these things do happen. But it's just been strange that Benn's legal team haven't then run with that and said, well, we've got the evidence, and put that evidence then in front of the Boxing Board of Control. It all comes down to the jeopardy of, if you get heard through strict liability with UKAD, will they make an example of him and ban him for 2 years or 4 years? Or will they?
In your opinion, Gareth, let's just say, because you've said you've spoken to the doctor, he's got scientific evidence that it came from food. And to my knowledge, I've not come across anyone looking to enhance their performance through food before. But do you think...
No, he clearly fits through food. He hasn't deliberately enhanced his performance.
So do you think, based on strict liability, because if he is going to get banned on that strict liability issue, if it is down to food and it's proven it's through food, do you think he's right for making that decision not to go down the British boxing route? Because then effectively isn't your fate already sealed? Because that's the way it seems.
No, I think he should go down that route. And then he has effectively cleared his name beyond any shadow of a doubt.
And that's on the strict liability.
But that is the strict liability. That is the strict liability route, where he's gone down it and said, yes, it was in my system. Yes, I didn't do it deliberately. Yes, here's the evidence that it came from food consumption. Well, it doesn't matter what anyone says. Oh, I know he's a cheat, this, that. No, they don't. They don't. Nor do I, nor does anyone. If he has that evidence and he can put it forward, a lot of whispers in boxing like this, that, and the other always. If he can put that evidence forward and it's represented and it's scientifically proven, he's cleared, and no one can ever say a word about him again, because he can just go, look, there you are. But do the hearing with the board, in my view, and then just get it over the line. It's dealt with. And I think that's where we are with it all, because it's a bit like saying, there's the evidence, but I don't have to go to court to do it because the evidence is there already. But you've got to do the due diligence, do the due process. It's been a very difficult situation. I don't like it. I really like Conor Benn. I've always liked Conor Benn. You know, I've had some difficult moments with him as well. I know he's even said to me personally, in recent times, in the last couple of months when I got to speak to him again, that he feels hard done by, that people have had it in for him. And I appreciated him saying that. I didn't have a chance to speak to him for months and months, because I was pushed on the outside because of views that we all gave on TalkSport that he wasn't happy about. And there was more than needed to be made of me trying to interview an event one night. I think it was an Anthony Joshua fight, you know, where he literally just pushed the microphone away and didn't want to talk, and it was a reaction. I mean, I really like Conor Benn. I've always liked him. I've never disliked him. And I do wish him well. I would like to see him back. But my view is, if the evidence is there, go and present the evidence. Don't be fearful of the scenario.
So what I can understand, so there was 3 points of appeal. So there was a WBC side, there was the drug governing body, and then obviously the British Boxing Board. So do you think he should go through all three and clear his name? Because I think from what
he has with the WBC, but you can take that evidence with him. He's cleared with the WBC, but the WBC is not the licensing authority for him to fight in the UK. You know, so look,
go on. I was just going to say, this might now meet a stalemate the way it sounds. And if that is the case, because Eddie previously said he wouldn't go down another boxing governing body in the UK. But today, when I asked him that, he said he's not made a decision on what he's going to do, which suggests possibly they may look at that. Do you think, if you was in their position, would you go down a different route? Because it's quite clear they're not going to go down the British Boxing Board route, because they would have done that by now, wouldn't they?
Yeah. But the thing is, I think even if he's licensed by another authority, say his license is gained by another authority. I mean, I'm not sure which license because he had a comeback a couple of months ago, didn't he?
Yeah, Florida Commission that was.
Yeah, so that was through the Florida Commission. Even if he boxes with his license from the Florida Commission, it still needs to be ratified by the Boxing Board of Control for it to happen here. If they go through another commission to run the event here, like Frank Warren did with David Hay and Derek Chisora in 2012, because Hay's license had run out with the Boxing Board of Control and Derek Chisora was banned by the Boxing Board of Control, or suspended at the time, because for his brawl with David Hay at the post-fight press conference between Derek Chisora and Vitaly Klitschko all those years ago in Munich. I was at that. It was mayhem. Then they can do that. But I don't think it'll be who was it at the time? The Luxembourg Commission at the time, I think it was. We're not in the EU anymore, so they can't just do it directly through a European body. But I'm sure there's a route around it. You can apply, I'm sure there will be a way of doing it, to have a commission, an ad hoc commission, overseeing an event in the UK. It would be called an unlicensed event here, because it's not under the jurisdiction of the Boxing Board of Control. But again, the Boxing Board of Control is not a government agency, as they are in athletic commissions in the United States. They're adjuncts onto the government bodies, the wrestling and boxing commissions going back many, many years. So there's probably a way around it. But the thing is, if he goes and has that hearing and they ban him for 2 years and it's retrospective, it keeps him out till October. So they're probably on a lose-lose right now if they want to push on with this fight on February the 3rd. So my feeling is they'll probably do it through another commission. I mean, I'm hopefully going to speak to Robert Smith about it in the next 48 hours, and Eddie as well. I mean, I'm doing a show on Talk Sport on Saturday night presenting that, and I really would like to get both of them on to talk about it. But that's where we seem to be at the moment. I think there was a long delay getting all the evidence sought and gone through. I'm on record as saying I think the way they've gone about it has been very unusual.
If you and a prediction, Gareth, how does this end? What do you think will be the final conclusion to this whole Conor Benn Boxing Board saga? If you're to wave a magic wand in a couple of months, do we get Eubank Benn and it all kind of just goes under a different commission, or what do you think happens? Because the appeal's going to be heard, isn't it, in January by the looks of it?
We're 11 weeks away from the fight. They can't be going ahead with the fight and selling tickets while the appeal's going on. January is weird. They'll either put the fight back to March, in my view, and have the appeal. If they find out, if they get a sense of the way UCAD and the board are going to get a response from this appeal, it could stretch out and out. It could stretch on and on. What's my feeling? I think the fight will be delayed, and if it isn't delayed, it'll go ahead under another boxing authority, in my view, which is probably not ultimately right in terms of the way the Boxing Board of Control see it in their testing process. Put that evidence in front of a body, because if they've got two amounts of evidence, one from the doctor that we were talking about, apologies for not remembering his name tonight. I can quickly find his name. You know who I mean, don't you?
Yeah. I won't worry about it. You know about the doctor that deleted all his socials?
Dr. E. Human.
Oh, you know about somebody else? Yeah. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. Dr. E. Human.
Okay.
DRE. I can't give his email address out. That's how you go. Dr. E. Human. He does lots of research into components in people's physicality. If that evidence is there, if the evidence is there from the World Boxing Council, take it, put it in front of the board, get it seen, get it over and done with. The big fear is this retrospective ban till October 2024 through strict liability. It's a real mess. I feel sorry for Conor Benn, but also the Boxing Board of Control need to hold their ground as well. So, and Eddie Hearn's in a difficult position as well. They're all in a difficult position. There's no easy solution to this, and that's why we're in the mess we're in now. It's a right old mess.
I think we're going to leave it on that note. It literally is a mess, isn't it? Let's hope it kind of sorts itself out. Gareth, as always, I appreciate your time, and well, I'm sure we'll catch each other soon, early next week, to see how this Ireland card ends up.
Yeah, lovely. I'll catch you next week. Cheers.
Have you ever been stranded on the side of a motorway with a broken down car? Like me, is that something that worries you? That's where motor breakdown insurance comes in. If your vehicle breaks down, a trained professional will be sent out to get you back on the road. Or if this is not possible within the specified time frame, to transport you to your home or to the nearest garage.